Today we're going to talk about the all-grain Kolsch and give it a shot, try it, see how it turned out. This was the second all-grain batch I did. It ended up with a 4.85 ABV, so almost 5% alcohol, which is I think about what I expected it would turn out to be. It's drinkable now. I actually had one the other night. It's a little warm because I just popped it in the fridge for a minute to see how far along we were on carbonation. So this will be more of a true test. This one was in the primary for 13 days, and I had quite a bit of activity going on, and then about a week in the secondary. So about the same as our American clone over here, American Ale clone. So we're gonna, like I said, try a little compare and contrast and see how they compare to each other. So let's open them up. We'll start with the one we talked about last week, and get that one going. Smells great. Smell it from here. And now the Kolsch. You can see there's no doubt that it's carbonated. Now as far as color goes, I would say they're very similar. The Kolsch might be, and it's hard to tell. Gee, I guess they're almost spot on from a color standpoint and from a head perspective as well. The color, it's very white, fairly large size bubbles in there, and you could really see this one was carbonated quite a bit. So boy, that has a nice clean aroma to it, and they're very similar. I would say this one has less of an aroma to it than the Kolsch, but hey, cheers. Let's see how it tastes. Well, that's good beer. It's this one's still just a hair warm. I like my beer a little bit colder than that, but that's okay. I'm not going to turn it down. So whereas I got a kind of a sweet flavor off this one last week, I'm definitely picking up on a little more flavor out of the Kolsch and an almost more of a bitter sort of flavor to it, whereas this one was rather sweet. Man, that's good beer. This is definitely still sweet. Still has more of a sweet flavor, like an American style beer. And this definitely has a little more of a bite to it with the bitterness, and yet still a nice clean finish. So it's a good beer. Again, because of how clean it is, it's going to be another one just like kind of the American Ale clone. That's good to introduce folks to if they haven't had a home brew before. But it's definitely a keeper. Definitely one I'd brew again, and it's really easy to brew. I mean, we're talking about 9 pounds of German Pilsner, the hops and the yeast, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And if you're curious about the brewing process, looks like I do have a video out there online, so you can actually watch it. But it's very straightforward, and the result is, fantastic. So both are beers that I wouldn't mind brewing again. Definitely would brew this again in a heartbeat to have around for folks that are expecting something like that when they come over, something like a Miller or a Budweiser sort of product. This one, definitely have around too. Gives people a little bit more of a choice between something that's more of an American versus something that has a little more spice to it, because this definitely does have a little more flavor profile to it. So anyway, I guess that's about it. Turned out great. I'm happy with it. I certainly will brew her up again. Now, next week, I'm hoping, and I'm not sure, because I'll have to crack a bottle at some point to see how it's coming along, is that chocolate stout, the sweet stout. And I just bottled that, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and I did save a little out. I had like a half a bottle left, and should have filmed it. I was basically drinking that half bottle as I was finishing cleaning everything up after the bottling process. That's a tasty beer. I was really worried about it being maybe a little bit on the bland side, but I was wrong. That's going to be a really good beer. So I'm hoping in the next week we can crack one open. That's really pushing it, but I'd give it a shot anyway and see how it turns out. So, you know, until next time, have a great Homebrew Wednesday, a great week. Cheers. This has been a Matty Boy presentation. Say bye-bye, Matty. Bye-bye.